is 6:01. We'll go ahead and get our August DAB meeting going. You could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We don't have a flag. Brooke does have a sticker on her laptop. Best we can do. You do have one?
Flag right outside the terminal that way.
Okay. Well, okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Thank you. All right. Brooke sent out the agenda for today over email. You guys had a chance to check it out. Can I get a motion for approval?
Second.
And then engage entry. And then Brooke also sent out the minutes for July. Hope you guys had a chance to review those if you weren't there. Is there a motion to approve those?
Second motion. Second.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to staff reports. Fire wanted to go first. They have another that meeting to make tonight, so we'll start with fire.
Yes, thank you. Up front, where are you guys want me?
By the podium with
Okay,
Mark.
perfect. Okay, my name is Jason Jones. I'm battalion, 4th Battalion, which is located at about 16th and Tyler. That's where I live. We serve a large portion of that 4. And so I have a little bit of updates for the fireworks and also incidents and that 4 area. So starting at 6:26, we had a fire in 200 block South Dodge. It was an arson fire. It's an ongoing investigation. 7/8, we had a auto fire at 23 block South Chester. I think it was an accident under investigation still. 1300 block of South Richmond was a vacant house that was undetermined. It had been homeless folks have been staying there. And then just this afternoon, we had a significant fire over on 600 block of South Robin, which is like Maple and Tyler area. So nobody injured in that fire today. Fairly significant fire and a duplex there. So that's still under investigation, but it's gonna be hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. I do have some information on, and Brooke can get you this in writing, I believe, on the fireworks that we had this year. Basically, in summary, the overall number of fireworks related fires decreased by 4. 2023, there were 5. The estimated dollar loss of 10,000 compared to 60,000 in 2023, so that was good for us. The fireworks injuries decreased by 3. Mortar and artillery shells is leading cause of injury. Dispatcher complaint line operated from June 30th, to July 6th. And the calls decreased this year from 1,224 in 2023 to 1,160 in 2024. The injuries, the number of injuries, looks like 36 City of Wichita citizens sought medical treatment. The fireworks related injuries. And then in 2023, there were 39. So the leading injury is was mortar artillery shells, followed by firefighter. So all in all, from our aspect, it's not bad, especially with the loosening of the fireworks. So that was that. Obviously, you all have heard about the tragedy loss of firefighter Boss, and that funeral, I believe, is going to be slated for Friday. I don't know if that's officially out yet, but we got notification on fire today that it's going to be Friday at 10 o'clock at Parkman Arena. So expect, as we would expect normally, a large presence, several thousand. I think firefighters nationally. No cause of death on him yet. Released by the medical examiner. So, does anyone have questions for me that I might be able to?
Questions from staff? Public?
Yes. If you have. Right?
Maybe online?
Any questions from folks online?
I hope they can hear me. Can they hear me?
Oh, June, you're on mute. You're still on mute, Miss June. Let me ask.
How's that?
That's better. You're using the speakers on my laptop, so bear with me.
That's fine.
Okay. I can hear people okay. It's a little low, but it's okay.
Did you have any questions, June?
No, thank you. I don't.
Okay,
All right.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'm gonna skedaddle. It's after 5. And appreciate you inviting me to the airport. It was not bad.
Not bad.
I got a primo parking spot in the fire department spot over there, so I took advantage of that. Thank you all. Have a
Thank
good
you.
meeting.
All right. Next up, I have airport fire police.
We missed, that'll be our airport.
Oh,
director.
okay.
Do you want an update from police and fire?
No, this works perfectly. We just needed someone from the airport so we could be in this room, and police and fire was the one that came to mind for us, but this works perfectly.
Oh, so I was the backup plan.
No, not at all.
I see.
All this.
Sure.
If not,
You want me to stand near the laptop for a microphone?
you can, and then we have a
You
microphone.
have one over there?
It is, it's not great. I'd speak into it, but if you'd like, you could
I
share.
I can stand right here.
Okay.
If they can't hear me, I'll try that one. Is it down or across? It's across, isn't it? Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Jesse Romo, Director of Airports for the Wichita Airport Authority. So we welcome you to beautiful Dwight D. Eisenhower National Airport. I'm sure this isn't your first time to the airport, right? Right?
No.
Yeah. Thank you for flying ICT. I thought I'd give you an update on a couple of things that often gets requested of us, which is air service and some development. Am I good on sound? I am unable to advance. Oh, look at that.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'll point. Okay. Our main goal in air service is to connect to the nation's hub network. Air service helps in development of jobs, economy, and quality of life. We got a lot of issues for what air service actually impacts. And we've got a lot of opportunities that are still out there, and I'll show you a map in a second, but we decided at the end of last year to have 4 major announcements come through in November. We had Southwest kick off their flights to Las Vegas, which Vegas and Phoenix were daily service flights before COVID. So it was a COVID, impact. We ended up losing those flights. So for us, it took a couple years to get them back, but we're really excited about it. Southwest, after COVID, started changing the way they did business, and they've been continuing to change. If you saw the recent announcements, right? They're going to now sell seat assignments. They're becoming more and more like a major carrier. And so they're getting away from that old Southwest style of how they had in a lot of O&D markets. And now they're really getting into big hub and spokes. And so during COVID or post-COVID, they shifted their resources up to Denver and shifted also towards the east for St. Louis. But we saw a lot of our flights get redirected through Denver and kind of that non-hub hub of theirs that they use, which makes sense from a business perspective. If you have less pilots, less aircraft, less crew, and you got to utilize your resources, consolidate, and maximize. And so that's what they did. But they said, all right, now we're ready to go back to Vegas starting November 5th. And then right after that, American Airlines said, we can do you better. We're going back to Phoenix for you. And we'll throw in a Miami nonstop service seasonally once a week on Saturdays. And we'll end it by around spring break time frame. And why don't we add one more to that mix, and we'll give you nonstop DCA daily service that started January 8th. And so the other 3 all started in November, and then the DC service started in January. I know this is all last year, but it was the end of the calendar year. And so by the end of 2023, we finished 2% under where we were for 2019. And 2019 was the peak period. And so we were almost fully recovered from COVID. But with adding service at the end of the year, that means we're really well set up in 24 to beat those numbers. And so far, each month we have been. If you follow us on LinkedIn or any of our social media, you'll see us post about the numbers that come through. We're always a month behind. So here it is starting in August, and we're saying, hey, last month, well, it's like June, because it takes a while to process all the numbers. But we had a great June. It was one for the records. It passed 19. And so we are on track to beat last year and beat 19. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, and hopefully everything goes according to plan. And we're going to be sitting pretty for a while. But we might be sitting pretty for a while. So what do I mean by that? Well, we've got some challenges that are going across the industry. Remember pilot shortage? That was the big push, right? Everyone was talking about pilot shortage. We need pilots. Well, the airlines really have caught up for pilots, but hey, we need airplanes. Now we've got the whole Boeing effect happening. So as Boeing's rolling out fewer aircraft and not getting certified, well, the major carriers that buy all those new aircraft can't expand their markets like they were planning to. And they can't shift down older resources, older planes to the other carriers, the network carriers, the regional carriers. And so it's got this ripple effect. So it's impacting a lot of the growth that we had projected for the industry for this year and next. And so we're kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen with air service development in the future. Right now, though, we have 16 nonstop destinations. 5 of them are seasonal. The one out there at LAX is seasonal with Allegiant. We're hopeful that's LA, San Francisco, Salt Lake City. They're all regions and hubs that we want to get to. So is Charlotte, New York, and we're doing our best. It's not our decision. We have to make the business case, and it has to make sense to the airline in order to start that service. As I mentioned, with record passengers in June. Yeah, I'm giving away all the good stuff in these slides and the beautiful charts that prove my point that I just said. Aircraft deliveries are impacting growth. Here's a lot of where our demand is. We know we've got a lot of opportunities to both sides, Northeast and West Coast. Here's a new economic impact study was just done by Wichita State for us on air service alone. Typically, we see economic impact studies done for the entire airport where they look at your direct, indirect, and induced impacts. This one was just for air service. And so we see 2,700 jobs, 72 million in revenue, 215 million. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading the commas. In wages, and 545 million in total economic impact just from air service. I'll make a point there at the end to note the leakage effect on Sedgwick County and the catchment area resulted in 159 jobs, 30.6 million in output, and 12.6 million in wages lost. So you'll hear that as an industry term for us. It's leakage. You know, we have a catchment area, a market area that's determined by drive time, and we say, hey, a lot of these folks can come into our airport and fly out, but we know you have choices. And so when you look at our airport, you're also looking maybe at Kansas City, maybe at Tulsa, Oklahoma City. If you make that decision and you go outside of our area and don't fly local, it impacts us economically, and not just impacts us, it impacts our region. And so we really push for you to choose and fly local, just like shopping and buying local. Support your local airport too. Thought I'd throw out some developing news and things occurring here at the airport. Your top left corner is a grab and go concept cafe that's going to come downstairs. And so one of the challenges we have is we have fluctuations in our demand. Passengers will come in a big bank of times early in the morning, then you might have a lull and a break. And you got a big ramp up, and you have a lull and a break. And so when we're asking our business partners, hey, I need you to have food and beverage concessions open, retail concessions open. They're like, well, I got to staff all that time. And I got a lot of time where I'm not making any money. I got a lot of overhead that goes into it. You know, and so we try to find that balance for them too, because we need them to stay in business. And so one of the things we've been seeing is a lot of requests for food and coffee before checkpoint from employees, from rental car, people are coming through for pickups, for drop-offs, and they're outside our normal operating hours. And so this is going to be one of those self-serve convenience store types where you can go in, grab stuff, scan it, pay for it on your own, and walk out. And so it's all set up with a lot of security cameras, and everything's capturing you. But it gives you a lot of opportunity to buy some cold and hot food if you need to warm it up in a microwave or brew some Keurig coffee right there on the spot. And so we're eager to see that occur. We're also seeing some upgrades inside the concourse for the same thing in retail and food and beverage. So we should be seeing some upgrades for more service options coming soon. The bottom, I'll say at the top right, that's the crew from TSA. If you walk right out this door and make an immediate, very hard right, before you even bump into the 9/11 display that's there, you're going to see a little plaque. And it was for the best airport of a certain category. Well, our TSA staff, which don't report to airport administration, I mean, they report to TSA, they're federal, they got their federal pipeline, right? They got nominated and went through their whole process and just won best small airport in the nation. And so that crew does a really good job. And a lot of other airports have issues with TSA, delays, customer service, and they get a lot of complaints. We talk to our peers all the time. We hear it all the time. We don't get that. Every now and then you got an issue. It happens. That's travel. People are stressed out. People forget they have a gun in their bag. But overall, really friendly service. And, we get a lot of compliments from it. So really proud of them for getting that award. Now on your bottom half of the screen, this is at Jabara Airport. We got Clemens Aviation's building another hangar. And so if you drive along Webb Road, just on the east side of Webb, you'll see a new hangar, all the steel's going up. They've actually probably put up some fabric around that already. The bottom right is a brand new maintenance facility that we built for ourselves. We had an old aging building that was literally falling apart. And so we had to upgrade that. And so we're making room, clearing some other space out, and we have a nice new location for all of our snow removal equipment, maintenance equipment, everything that goes in to take care of an airfield out there at Jabara. Now, I promise you 15 minutes, I'm going to speed through. Got it? Okay, now I'll walk you through some development stuff that's occurring at both Jabara and Eisenhower. We'll first start at Jabara. Is there a red dot?
Sure.
So you see the triangle, right? WSU Tech. So the WSU Tech campus is right there at NCAT, just so along Webb. They're looking to expand to the south. We did get creative with them. We got a grant from State Department of Commerce, which is rather unusual, but we partnered with them because this is going to actually help in workforce development because of all the training programs that WSU Tech has. So we're going to build some infrastructure for a taxiway. It's going to allow them ramp space for aircraft as well as taxiway connection to the airfield environment. And they can consolidate all their flight training and expand their flight training and pilot program and aircraft maintenance programs. Excited about that occurring. And then at your bottom left, you see another gray box and kind of a gray line jagged going to the runway. And so we have a brand new development. That was a public-private partnership. In the last couple of years, we've been trying to figure out how to develop on the east side of the airport because all the development's on the west side. And so we needed to overcome access and utilities and property. And so we struck a deal and someone's coming in, building that hangar, helping us out with the infrastructure. So it's a great partnership and a little bit of a trade-off, and we're getting a little property in exchange. And so now we've got access and we've got development occurring on the east side of Jabara. So we can start to see that construction occur within the next few months. At Eisenhower, we've got all kinds of, let me go back, whoops. At Eisenhower, we have a lot of different parcels that are out there. We're actually running out of space on what's available. So now we're getting more into green space. And so a lot of stuff has some challenges with some federal equipment that we have to overcome, but we're starting to make those efforts. The parcels that are really impacted along on that general aviation side, on the east side of the airfield is really compacted pretty well. So we got a couple of little small spots, but we're filling them up quickly. So our staff's been very active, very busy in dealing with development applications all around Eisenhower. And with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions you may have. Yes.
What's our next direct flight? What's the pipeline?
Where do you want to go?
Austin.
Austin?
Yeah.
No. But thanks for playing. Well, okay, so we work with an Air Service Committee task force out of the chamber. And so with them and some other partners, the partnership, Greater Wichita Partnership and their board, and we've asked, and then we do surveys of business and their needs. And we say, okay, what is the next big opportunity? Because we do have some gaping holes in our system. And I'll go back to that map and click back fast enough. Okay, as I mentioned, we have some pretty big gaping holes in our system now. And so we had a focus on new. That was our charge. They said, please go see what you can do. Now that you got DCA, because everybody was on board last year to get that deal done. Actually, it took us a few years, but that was really by a lot of the efforts of Senator Moran helping us out. But the group said, okay, go after New York. So in order to go after New York, it's an expensive market to get into. We're a smaller market, comparably nationally. So you got to give a little bit of incentive to the airlines. And so you don't give a direct handout. You don't ever want to just give direct subsidies. But if we do a minimum revenue guarantee, it's like an economic development incentive package. I say, hey, if you come into our airport, I guarantee you're going to make X amount of dollars, percentage of revenue, percentage of load factors. How are we determining that measure of success to be? And they say, we'll go back and we'll remeasure, make sure we're hitting those marks. If you go below it, we'll make up the difference for you. Not all the time do you have to draw down that money and utilize it, but it's a good incentive for you to risk mitigate as you come into the market, right? And so we went after New York. And so we need some assistance. We're going to have to go after a federal grant because that's where big money is for grant program assistance. But in order to do that, you got to have the market demand. And so some of the slides I was kind of glanced over show you what we call PDU, passengers departing each way. But we have the market demand to show for we can sustain service in New York because you're not just flying one plane, back. You got to fly back and forth. You got to show what your connectivity is, not just to New York, but where their connections are through their network, because that's how the airline plans. It's not just an OD market. It's how does it make sense for growing my networks? Okay, so you got to have your market demand and all your data. You also have to have money you got to put on the table for incentive package. And you have to have the support of an airline. And so what we couldn't get, we got the data. We got support locally in dollars. And people said, businesses said, hey, we'll chip in money. City and county said, we'll chip in a little money to help out, to do matching funds. The airlines all said, no, thank you. Your market doesn't look strong enough for us to go into New York. There's not enough air traffic controllers in New York. We're not seeing enough expansion out there. I don't have any more new planes coming in the next couple of years. And maybe in 3 to 5, probably not sooner than 5, that we'll look at New York for you guys. And so that was the feedback we got from the airlines. And so once you don't get airline support, now you got to rechange your focus. And so one of the things that we got, though, is a little headway in Charlotte. Charlotte is never that big, sexy draw, right? DCA, New York, LA, Charlotte, little Charlotte, North Carolina, it's like the 3rd busiest hub in the world for the number of daily flights that they have. It's amazing how much growth they have, which means there is a ton of connectivity up and down the East Coast, actually even coming inland and going over the Atlantic, getting into Europe and other destinations. So Charlotte is a huge win. Americans starting to open up a few gates, I think maybe 5 or 6. We're the 6th to 7th next market on the list to get into Charlotte. So we're right on the edge of maybe there's an opportunity. And what helps us get higher on the list of rankings? That bring little money to the table. And so that we're going after a minimum revenue guarantee in a grant through KDOT to actually help us go after Charlotte. And so, but we also recognize, as I said before, LA needs daily service. Salt Lake City would be great for connectivity through the Northwest and increased flights through Minneapolis too. So there's a lot of gaping holes for us to try and get filled. But it takes a little bit of time, and we're the biggest commercial service airport in the state of Kansas, but nationally we're ranked as a small hub. And so it's hard for us to get those numbers and grow that fast. And so we're trying. How's that for a long-winded answer?
DC's great.
But you notice I didn't mention Austin.
No, you didn't mention it.
Yes, sir.
With the announcement of opening of the Passport Center in Kansas City, does that have any inflection on international travel coming through NCT?
So we are not an international airport, and so any international travel we have is just a byproduct of us having connections with international hubs like O'Hare and DFW. So it really doesn't. Now, Customs is also doing global entry here, and so we're starting that out and trying to get them rolled out. We know that for those that don't know, global entry is very much like TSA PreCheck. So if you've heard of TSA PreCheck, it helps expedite you through the security line. For Customs, it does the same thing if you're flying internationally. It helps expedite you through that process in line. But we're probably not going to see international flights generate from here for a long while. Good question.
Any other questions from staff? Public? All right, so.
Library doesn't have any questions for the airport. We've got a great little device inside the terminal in the concourse. If you've seen it, prints out stories. Great partnership with the library.
Oh.
Just thought I'd give you that plug.
Oh, Sure.
Any questions online?
no, great presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
Rick.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy your evening.
I just see you, John.
All right, next up, we have PD.
I met him last night. Yeah, he is. He's awful, but he's the best.
Oh, Officer Fong.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, Officer Tom John, Wichita Police Department, Patrol West, Union Police Officer. Staff four and also some talk going on the west side. Staff four crime statistics, part one violent crime. This is a homicide rate, robbery, aggravated assault. It's down 33%. Part one property crime. Is the 30, larceny, water, all of that. That has gone up. And then for the west side, we have a self-stat, which is, we get call from citizens in the area. It says, hey, we have a speed intersection, we need some self-stat. We just put up a self-stat where it reports speeding or not speeding with the mile per hour of cars going by. So we have one at, 10,700 West Hills Mike. And out there we had, 5,957. Out of that, 16 cars were going over 37 miles per hour. You also had another stop stat at 2,200 stop block with an average speed of 26.04 miles per hour, 85% of the speed under 35 miles per hour. We also had a fire department go to the deduct in at 841 West Hall for year inspection. There were minor violation and several electric outlet, SCMS, slide, nothing major. So that's what we got the west side and staff for it. Any questions?
Can we see any more traffic enforcement on Kellogg?
We're doing that, so you see the traffic officers.
It took me 40 minutes to get from Kellogg and Rock here.
Well, that's because it was an accident.
Yes.
There was an accident over there, talking where a lot of traffic was backed up. There's only one lane, that's why it took a while. And then when we try to have dispatch bar pass it in order to here, that was the area. But there is traffic, we are doing traffic enforcement around that area. Any other questions?
By the house that is not getting trash service and they have garbage in the yard. Who do I report that?
We report that to MABCD. That's we deal with housing code violations. MABCD.
Their number?
I don't have the number on.
I can get that.
Any other questions?
Any questions from public?
Thank
Thank you. Okay. We have, Officer Cos.
Yeah, Brooke, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I would put things in the chat just to be safe and I can include them in the minutes.
I'll just keep it short. Sorry, it's my day off. Since
Oh.
Palm already covered the stats, the only thing I'm gonna add to it is that August will be the start of school. So we will be doing a lot of assisting schools with the traffic jams, from obviously new parents, or existing issues. You know, a lot of schools like Kelly Elementary, they're right off 31st. There's a lot of, you know, issues there. So we will this month, be helping a lot on that aspect. So that's the only thing I'm going to really add to that. So.
Okay, so in August, they'll be doing a lot of traffic enforcement with schools starting back up again. And if anyone has any direct questions for Patrol South, I can take those, share those and get back with you as well.
Any
Awesome.
questions? Public? All right,
Let's do library.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
all right, and then we can move on to, library.
Want to stay over here?
Over here, right over here?
Yeah.
Okay. Read it. Last month in August, or June or July, sorry. July, we had 5,243 people, through the doors of the Alfred Library. In circulation, we had 8,208 items, leave the building. Local Author Day is back. Wichita Public Library's Local Author Day returns Saturday, August 10th at the Advanced Learning Library. This program celebrates local writing talent and invites local authors to meet new fans and for readers to learn about authors. The day begins with the writers panel from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. A panel including Julia Fabrice McBride, Grant Snyder, and Julian Fosberg will share their experiences with writing, publishing, and marketing themselves, not to mention the ups and downs of publishing a book. From 2 to 4 p.m., the expo lets attendees meet Wichita's diverse array of local authors and purchase their books. The library currently has 2 expansions and renovation projects in the works, one at Westlink and one at Rockwell. More information about those branch remodels, including construction photos and floor plans, can be found online at wichitalibrary.org. The Alfred branch will be getting a smaller scale remodel this winter, and there will be a presentation on later tonight. And we do now have public input forms available at the Alfred branch. If anybody wants one, I have a few of them here I brought with me. So you're welcome to fill out and give your input on them. If you're interested in donating blood, Wichita Public Library is hosting a Red Cross blood drive on Monday, August 26th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Advanced Learning Library. This is presented in partnership with American Red Cross. Book your appointment at redcrossblood.org/give HTML/find-drive. And don't forget, you can now borrow blood pressure monitors from the library. Each kit comes with a blood pressure monitor, logbook, pre-survey, and instruction booklet. More information is available at wichitalibrary.org/things. The Alfred branch currently has 3 book displays. One's Dog Days of Summer and Back to School in the children's area. There is a display of books about cats in the adult side. And the display cases inside the doors and is on Don't Bug Me, I'm Reading. And our summer reading program ended July 27th, and we had a pool party for all the finishers yesterday. So that's everything I have. Any questions or anything for the library? Yes.
You know, radar
Yes, detectors, yes.
and all the libraries are.
They're like all the library things, there are holds on them. So as the holds come up, it'll get sent. And I don't know if each library was given one originally, but for its home, but everything is, there were so many holds on them that it's maybe 2-3 months before you can get them. Okay, coming through.
Any other questions? Public? All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up, presentation from Public Works and Facilities for their quarterly updates regarding District 4.
Thank you. I am Paul Gunselman, city engineer. I have a few projects to highlight and then we'll go over one more. The West Street project from Harry to Pawnee, that is well under construction. And it will be under construction through 2025. Regarding the pavement preservation projects, we have some projects that we have completed with pavement repairs. The base repairs have been completed on some of the streets around town West Mall. Also Kellogg Drive near Eisenhower Airport Parkway. The overlays will be following up here starting this month. I think they're working at the northwest part of town, near 13th and Ridge this week. But they'll be filtering down to some of these other streets as well. The other project of West Street from I-235 south down to 47th Street. We are wrapping up right-of-way acquisition with that project. And we will open bids on that project this fall. We have finally broken loose with KDOT regarding the Keeler Lake Brightwater Bay / Cape 42 access. That's the I-2 and I-235. That would be putting an additional leg of traffic across from the ramps. And we had been going back and forth with KDOT, but we finally got what we needed resolved on the design. We are extending some of the turn lanes, so we are moving traffic closer to the piers of I-235. We needed to have the pier protection, and we've got that resolved with them. So we are planning on opening bids on that in September. The Kellogg and Ridge interchange improvements. Jesse had a display up there a little bit. We have applied for a raise grant in 2023 as well as in 2024 to make improvements to that interchange and study this area. We were not awarded that in 2023. We resubmitted it in 2024 for this year's consideration. And again, we were not awarded the grant application or the projects. We do have the opportunity to do another debrief with the selection committee to see what we can do to improve the application. We do have an earmark that Senator Moran had gotten for us that will come due or will be available in September of this year. So we'll probably start some type of study and or design of that interchange. For citywide projects, the new transit center, we had open bids on that, or the multimodal facility or the hub, we opened bids on that in June 21st. It was over the engineer's estimate. We had the opportunity to get some additional funding from our Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. I will be going back to City Council in a couple weeks to revise that budget and open bids again. August 23rd is what I'm shooting for, so we'll get that advertised. We had talked to some general contractors as well as ready mix people after, or contractors, companies after that we opened bids on that, and we got some of their concerns, and we have addressed those with this next round. So hopefully we'll get some better bids and additional contractors bid on that. I will move forward to the other project I wanted to bring up, and this is, we haven't talked about it before. If you're familiar with Riverfront Stadium, I'm sure you've heard about some additional private development around Riverfront Stadium. Hotel going on the east side of McLean, adjacent to the river. We will have some riverbank improvements with that project that we are in design on. You can go on down, Greg. That will be, this is the existing conditions where the pathway is next to the river. Pretty steep slope, and we don't have a good clean river's edge along part of that, as you can see in the left picture. Next slide, please. So we will do something similar to what we did. You can see River Vista to the upper left photo. That was north of Douglas that we had done a few years ago. We clean up the river's edge and do some landscaping. You can go on to the next slide, Greg. It's hard to see here, but we do have some similar treatments and straightening up the river's edge. You can go on down. So really this first phase is really building this seawall. And cap. We can only lower the river during certain parts of the year, and that will occur, I believe, after September 30th or between October 1st through March 30th, we can lower the river due to some of the species in the river. So we are getting permits from Kansas Department of Wildlife and Park, KDHE, et cetera. So we want to build that first phase this fall. And I want to just to reach out to you all tonight, let you know that will be forthcoming, as we'll probably start the construction hopefully shortly after October 1st. We'll see what the timing is, and there might be one other slide with maybe. Yeah, again, it's just showing the river's edge. We do have some additional landscaping that'll follow up in phase 2 that we are just kind of designing, but the first phase, we want to take advantage of this fall when we can lower the river, get the seawall in. We'll coordinate with the hotel as far as some of their landscaping, and when they construct that, we'll work on phase 2 so that we're not, sure they'll have to use some of that space between the hotel and the river to do their east facade, et cetera. So we'll coordinate with that. So again, just phase 1 will be the sheet pile and the cap, some riprap in the river, and then they'll move forward with phase 2. That is my update. Have any questions for me?
Is McLean gonna be closed during that time at all?
That's a great question. It not for what we are doing, however, the development with the hotel, and then they have some mixed use development on the west side of McLean, adjacent to the stadium. And they will be working on both sides, and they have made a request to close McLean during that time, so. We'll have more on that later. We don't, another pre-schedule right now.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
From Maple Street from like Sheridan down to Meridian now. When do you see them going on over to Seneca?
Let me find out for you. I think we have that programmed in the CIP for later years, but I don't know if they have any maintenance prior to that, but I'll find out.
Because I live in that area and I know Sheridan to Meridian needed work, but Dalton and I have talked about it before in our meetings where Meridian to Seneca is actually worse than Sheridan to Meridian, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
And you know, just like today with me trying to get from the east side of town to the west side of town, I know we got some, but that is the main thoroughfare when there's an accident on
Yeah,
Kellogg. Something needs to get done with that.
I got caught in that same trap when I left City Hall, as we did, so yes, but I will check on that.
Yeah, there's a question online. Alex,
Or I think it was
or
John.
was it John?
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures here and you've got some great graphics. How much are we looking at budget wise on all the new landscaping and these design elements on the river? Ballpark figure? I don't need specifics. I'm just curious. And then I have a
Well,
follow-up I have a
the-
follow-up question to that.
Okay, the sheet pile, we're looking probably around $2.5 million. The landscaping, I think we have a base grant of $5 million, plus we had an additional $7 million in the capital improvement program. We are still working on that landscaping. We'll probably scale it back just due to the conditions that we're in right now. So what you see are some pretty pictures, but we are looking at, how we can do a little bit, maybe, I don't want to say xeriscaping, but at least get some other drought resistant materials in there, maybe some other type of materials instead of turf.
But so what you just said, if I'm doing the math right, there's $10 million or so in budget there, right there in landscaping.
With the seawall, and there'll be some retaining walls, so that'll all be included within that.
Okay, so here's my question then. Why are Brandon Johnson and members of the Wichita City Council considering raising our property taxes and capturing 100% of the revenue when right here I have just solved the budget problem?
And that could be, I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, well, that's a question for the City Council. Why are we spending money on beautification, landscaping, grass, trees, etc., when there are people who are poor at risk of losing their homes because you want to raise property taxes. And you wonder why people get mad at raising property taxes because people want to put in grass and trees and landscaping. Don't ever try and sell the people of Wichita that there's quote unquote no place to cut. I just found you $10 million.
Noted. Any other questions from staff? Online? Public? All right, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to scheduled items, seeing that there are none, we'll move on to off agenda items. If there's anyone present that did not request to speak on the public agenda prior to the meeting, that may speak at this time. Is there anyone here? All right. Seeing that there's nobody, moving on to new business, for a presentation for the Alfred Library Design and Renovations. You're up. Oh.
Yes, you can, yes, just watch the board.
I need to be able to.
Hi, I'm Jamie Nix. I'm the director of libraries. I think we're really excited to be able to bring to you the concept of the changes that are earmarked for updates to the Alfred Branch Library. I think we're just over 20 years old here, so this is one of our newer branches. I think it's got some of the greatest sightlines of architecture already. So James from Putnam is in the process with us to do some design. We're at a point where we want to get your feedback on what this could mean for services and whether or not it would strengthen you and others using the Alfred Library.
Like you said, I'm James Fire, I'm from Hutton. I'm the project manager on this project. And I'm just gonna take you through these slides and talk a little bit about your existing library. So as you can see, this is the Alfred Library branch right here. It is just west of South Meridian Avenue near the YMCA. One of the improvements that we will be doing is a new drive just north of the YMCA. It's been we've been informed that to improve accessibility into the site, a new drive would be very beneficial. So as you can see from the existing building, the library branch has a very strong aviation theme, a concept that is guiding the principles of the design. You can see it in the wing of the roof, the wing of the cantilever coming out the front of the building, and even in the columns in these front desk and around the radial, separating the front desk area to the stack, to the stacks. So here is an existing floor plan. The children's area is going to remain in place along with the adults area. We will be moving the teens area from the northwest side to the southwest side in that note in the bottom left corner. We will be updating the service desk to provide better functionality. And we will also be, move to the next slide. And we will also be updating the community meeting room. So overall, everything that is white will be getting new interior finishes, floors, paint. The ceilings that are currently there are gray. We will be keeping the ceilings where we can and updating all the lights. As you can see, the new service desk at the bottom left corner will be a more linear element that is more functional than what is currently there. We'll be adding new meeting rooms along the perimeter and a new kind of a floating meeting room, study pods, into this, this area right here. Kind of floating in space. Yeah. Next slide. So, as I mentioned before, the existing building has a very strong aviation theme. Part of the feedback we received was that the library as it is today has very poor lighting, and is just not a very inviting and warm space. So we looked at a way to combine the aviation theme with something that provided a little bit more warmth. So here you can see our concept is Horizons for this project, a way to integrate warmth into the space with the existing strong aviation theme. And then the last slide. This is our interior materials palette. So kind of hard to see on this projector, but just looking at ways to take what's there, integrate with the existing architecture, and then provide one in space. Any questions?
Is there gonna be the same amount of books still, or will that be reduced?
Plans to be reduced slightly to be able to stand up different structures. For the community. But in the children's collection, it actually might grow a little bit. This is an ARPA funded project. All of the libraries remodeled, through federal,
All through federal dollars?
and then additional fundraising for our county.
With the meeting rooms, do those come equipped with any special like technology in there, or is it just a room?
You have your meetings in that,
In the community meeting room?
Each of the larger meeting rooms are going to be equipped for hybrid technology, and smaller study rooms, probably not, there will be Wi-Fi throughout. We'll have a few more computers.
Yeah.
There's like more places to plug in devices. And one thing that's likely to happen in the next 6 months, we received a grant through the Department of Commerce to improve access to Wi-Fi. So we'll be installing Wi-Fi access points outside of the Alfred Library to project through the parking lot. So even after hours, you can be able to find other things. Look forward to that.
You had touched on the drive. Are you talking about the entrance from Meridian into the library?
No, there will be a new entrance coming off of,
The wide. Oh, okay.
Go basically straight as it comes in the front of the library.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Straight into the.
Hey, excellent. Taking the wrong turns then, so.
Sidewalk connecting, going north off of the Alfred, connecting to the existing sidewalk, which is to the line.
Cool. Any other questions from staff? I think it looks great. I like the, I didn't notice the aviation thing before, but now it obviously stands out. I don't know how I missed it. But no, I love the ideas. And no, I'm excited to see it.
Okay, you.
Any feedback, questions from public?
Anyone online have any feedback questions?
Thank you, guys. Oh. Is Donald?
Yes, he actually.
All right, moving on to updates, issues and reports from Councilmember Glasscock.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yeah, barely, but
So,
Get it in.
okay, well, I will talk loud. I don't really have any updates right now. I know we went over a lot, seemingly only a few weeks ago. I think was our last meeting, or it seemed pretty recently. In terms of the budget process is going on right now. August 8th, which is this upcoming Thursday, is our next city council meeting. And it is open to the public at 6:00 p.m. And that'll be primarily our budget hearing. So any member of the public can have up to 5 minutes to talk about concerns or ideas for the budget. And then we'll have one more hearing on August 13th regarding the budget process. And then we'll have the final vote on August 20th. So that's the biggest thing moving forward for the council, be able to determine. Again, the operating budget is about $1 billion in 2025. And the CIP is over $3 billion for the next 10 years. So it's probably the most important vote that we're going to take this year, and would love to have feedback or input in that process as well. In addition, I don't know, I missed the fire report earlier, and so the fire chief may have presented this information or not, but the city announced funeral plans for firefighter both this Friday at Hartman Arena. And so we'll be sure to post more information on our DAB page if you would like to pay your respects at Hartman Arena on Friday as well. Other than that, I'll take any questions and won't go on a long soliloquy today, but happy to answer any questions for you.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat that, Dalton, for the folks in the room. So Councilmember Glasscock doesn't have any new updates. The budget process is going on now. There's an upcoming city council meeting this Thursday. It's an evening meeting due to the voting. So this will be at 6 p.m. Anyone who signs up for public comment has 5 minutes if they want to discuss the budget. There will be another budget meeting on August 13th, I believe normal 9 a.m. at City Hall, and a final budget meeting on August 20th. This might be one of the most important votes Dalton takes as a city council member, and for his opinion. And he did miss the beginning fire report, but said the city has announced funeral plans for the fallen firefighter. This Friday at Hartman Arena, there will be more information shared for folks to pay their respects. He would really appreciate your feedback on the budget while he takes his upcoming vote. Any other feedback as well? I'd appreciate it. If you have any questions too, I can let you know.
Were there any questions for Councilmember Glasscock from staff?
Dalton, go ahead.
Anyway, the baseball thing is fine there, but I was just wondering, as the board members, is it possible that as the city council ever considered letting people who serve on board volunteer their time go to things like Botanica and city museums at no cost? Because if you
Good
volunteer at Botanica, you can go in and take somebody with you. Has the city ever, or the council ever considered making the same board members?
I'm not aware of that. I think that would be a good incentive, especially at city-owned facilities, and maybe encourage participation. So I'll ask if we've done that in the future, because I want to do more things like the ball game or more events to show appreciation for you all as well. So let me ask the city manager about that, but I don't have any opposition to it. I think that would be a great idea. Thanks, Wally.
You'll ask the city manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, one more question.
Dalton, have you had a chance to look at the budget or go over it line by line, or are you just getting a bunch of graphs and getting sold a bill of goods?
I went over every item in the budget. It's about 700 pages, or I think it's 600 pages between both the CIP and the operating budget. I've read every single part of it. So I can sit down one-on-one with anybody, but I went line item by line item in the budget.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend, but you know, throw some stuff out there at us, you know, that you think are questionable.
Well, I think first off, in terms of we're looking at systemic problems, and sorry, again, if Brooke has to repeat this, we're looking at systemic problems regarding staffing. Right now we have about, I think it's 300 positions that have been open for longer than 2 years. And, you know, when the city's facing a deficit moving forward in the future, even just freezing positions outside of public safety. So not freezing officer, firefighters, or police, but freezing other positions outside of public safety, how that could help more systemically for the budget. There are always things we can cut. And I mean, we looked at the contract with the paper of record previously. We looked at cutting expenses there and then also streamlining. But if we actually want to address the challenge moving forward, they're going to have to be pretty systemic challenges. I'll actually forward to all of you. I have a one-sheeter of about 70 questions I've asked the manager about questions that I had regarding the budget. I'll forward it off to you and ideas and cuts that I had requested be made.
Is that budget, is that available to the general public that they could look at?
It is. Yep, it is open. And then in terms of we voted for the council voted for the intention to exceed revenue neutral. That actually has to happen on August 20th. I was in the minority vote on that. I believe that we should have not captured the full 8%. We should have captured closer to inflation. 12-month rolling inflation rate's about 4%. I think we should have only captured a 4% increase maximum, not a full 8% like we are. However, the rest of the council did not agree with that. So right now, the current plan is to capture a full 8% property tax evaluation.
Thank you for trying, Dalton. I appreciate your efforts.
But we'll have a couple more difficult decisions, and I'll send you a couple of my proposed cuts. None of them are, I think, over the top. I think they're all sensible, and then more streamlined approaches that aren't going to affect service levels. One thing I will iterate on the budget, for me, public safety, police, and fire are non-negotiables. I will not support cutting any fire capacity nor any police capacity. We're understaffed in both departments. And those are two non-negotiables for me, that we have to fully fund our fire department and our police department.
Okay, so just to make sure everyone in the room heard that, Dalton, Councilmember Glasscock said that there's a lot of systemic problems regarding staffing, and the city has about 300 open positions that have been open for 2 years or so. So his ideas are maybe the city can freeze these, although he supports only freezing positions outside of public safety. So this does not include like public works, fire, or police. Cutting expenses in other places, there might be some ideas for that. If they want to address budget deficits, he thinks most of these changes will be systemic. Dalton has about 70 questions he's asked the manager, and will pass along some of those responses and his opinions to his DAB members. I'll also send the budget where you can read it, since you asked about that.
Yeah.
And the council voted to exceed revenue neutral recently. Dalton was the minority vote on this. He doesn't think the city should capture all 8% of property tax evaluation. He thinks it should be 4%. So that's why he voted on that. But the current plan is to capture 8% of property tax evaluation.
Do we have a projection on what the rest of the council is waiting on this?
Dalton, DAB member Hunt asked if you knew the projection on how the rest of the council would vote on that.
It was 5-2, so I don't think that's changing. The manager is proposing a few possible cuts that he's going to be presenting, I think, at the August 8th meeting. But in terms of not capturing a full 8%, there's not council will to do that right now.
He said 5-2. That projection's happening, and then repeat that last part.
The manager will still be proposing some cuts that we're going to make now, that we don't have to wait for 2026 to make cuts, or 2027 or 2028. And so he'll be presenting those at the Thursday meeting. And I imagine the majority will of the council is probably capture the full 8%. So I think that's going to be the budget approved. There'll be some things probably moved around in the budget, but I don't think that there's a will to cut or not take the full appraisal value.
So it likely will pass.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, that's okay. The legislature will fix it.
I'll go back there and capture all that in a minute.
Mailbox, was there any mail?
I didn't really pay attention. I kind of just grabbed and go.
Oh.
Yeah.
There. Is that it? Dalton? Or were there any other questions? Seth?
We do need to bring down property taxes.
And I'll give a full update at the next meeting. Sorry for not being able to be there. I got stuck on another work trip, and planes are always a hassle sometimes. Just by being at the airport, our airport does a great job. But I will be excited to join you next month, and I'll give a full update of the entire process.
What is it?
He'll give a full update at our next meeting.
Okay. Were there any questions from the public?
Is it the budget that's already out publicly, or is it something that?
Dalton, we're talking about the budget that's available now, not something different.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, there's not a new proposed budget.
What are some things that, Councilman Glasscock, what are some things that you are recommending that we remove since public safety is a non-negotiable for you?
For me, it's building of new projects. I think we have plenty of infrastructure projects that we need to maintain. And my priority is maintenance of what we currently have before we go out and build new parks or new systems. Let's take care of what we have now. And let's make sure they're high quality, whether that be road maintenance, whether that be, we're looking at the Dirt Street program. If we redirect money from the Dirt Street program towards general road maintenance, we could get far better bang for our buck than actually maintain our current road system instead of building new capacity for it. And I have a list of about 10 different items, and I will send a recap email for everybody just because I'm not there today. I'll send a recap email of 10 suggestions that the council's looking at and the ones that I support as well.
Thank you.
Just so Brooke doesn't have to rehash everything, I'll send a follow-up email for everybody.
Awesome. I'll send that to everyone too.
Dalton, the one thing I don't understand, with all these hundreds of duplexes we're building around town, they should be adding to the tax base. They should be picking up some of the expenses. It shouldn't be passed on to existing homeowners.
Well, and the gap that we have for the budget is interest rate earnings are they're projected to be substantially down. And so that's one challenge we're facing. And then just wage compression. More than 75% of our budget is salaries. And so it's really tough when the private sector salaries have increased and we have to match that. So those are the big challenges of why we're facing it. But I think we can make reasonable cuts that don't hurt service levels and just spend money more efficiently and be innovative in the way that we spend innovative in the way that we offer services in our community too.
Yeah.
That question for Dalton?
I don't think so.
Thank you all.
Questions online?
Nope.
That was the last thing we had. There much to adjourn?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Aye.